Alright, hey guys, and welcome to my top 10 games of 2012 video. As usual, it was really hard for me to narrow down my list to 10 games for 2012. There were so many amazing games that came out that I played that I really wanted to put in my list, but I finally was able to get it down to a list that I believe is truly my top 10 games of 2012. Now, I didn't get to play everything that was out, and there were a lot of games that I did play that I highly enjoyed, but I just didn't put enough time into them to really be able to fairly consider them for my top 10 list. But what do you say we get started with my number 10 game of 2012, and that is Asura's Wrath on the Xbox 360. It's also available on the PlayStation 3. Now, when I first played the demo of Asura's Wrath, I didn't like it, but when I picked up the retail release and I was able to put everything into context into what I was seeing on screen and all these crazy actions that are going on that are sort of paired with tons of QuickTime events, the story was actually really over the top, and that's what made it really fun and exciting to play. You just wanted to see what happens next. What next over-the-top thing can Asura get himself into? How is he going to recover from, that event in the game, or fighting this huge enemy? I mean, the world that is crafted in Asura's Wrath is really out of this world, and you really have to play it. If you're a fan of over-the-top games, especially if you're a fan of like Dragon Ball Z, if you want to play sort of a Dragon Ball Z, but not Dragon Ball Z, QuickTime event type game with all new characters and stories and events, do yourself a favor, check out Asura's Wrath. Despite being, for the most part, nothing but a QuickTime event game with some pretty mediocre action sequences, it actually does a really good job in wanting you to always see what happens next and see the game through to its end. Just a quick little tidbit though, you can't see the game's true ending unless you buy it in DLC, which I did, and trust me, it's worth it. The game is really, really fun. And coming in at number 9 is an exclusive to the PlayStation Vita, and that is Gravity Rush. Now, Gravity Rush is an excellent action-adventure game that does one thing extremely well that sort of makes up for any faults that the game might have, which there are not really many of them, to be quite honest. The game does a lot of things well, but it does one thing exceptionally well, and that is the gravity shifting mechanic, where you can float yourself in midair and you can just fly around these huge, expansive open worlds, going on quests and missions, and seeing these huge, expansive cityscapes that have this really nice, oversaturated, sort of cel-shaded color look to them. It's really unique. When you see screenshots and gameplay of Gravity Rush, it really doesn't look like anything else that I've played. The closest thing I can compare it to in terms of graphical style, in some cases, would be El Shaddai from last year, which is another personal favorite game of mine. But Gravity Rush, it's a really great action-adventure game. The story is pretty good. The adventures of Kat from the beginning to the end are just enough to push you forward to see, sort of solve the mystery that's going on in the game world. And anybody that is looking to pick up a great exclusive for the Vita, you can't go wrong with Gravity Rush. Number 8 on my list is going to the Wii exclusive, The Last Story. Now, I have to say, The Last Story kind of took me by surprise. I went into it almost blind, not really knowing what to expect, but what I came away with was a really unique action RPG, and it's kind of tough to play an RPG these days and feel like you've never played anything like it before, and I can definitely say that about The Last Story. The combat system in particular is very unique to this game. You can actually just glide around the combat stages with the joystick or the nunchuck, which is my control preference of choice for this game, and just tilting the joystick in the direction of an enemy will send your character flying towards them to attack. It's quick, it's seamless, it's simple, but believe it or not, it actually keeps the gameplay flowing very well. To go along with the great combat is a very, very good story. It takes a bit to get into, but once you reach that 3-hour mark in this game, it grips you and the characters are engrossing. Some of the most memorable characters and story that I've played in an RPG in recent memory. They do a great job of character development in this story and really making you feel and care for the characters, which is kind of rare in RPGs these days. The game world itself, it's a bit limited in scope. There's not too many different unique areas that you go to throughout the game, and I only say that because it is a 20-hour game, but they do a great job of telling the story that they need to tell within those 20 hours. And the environments that are present in the game are really beautiful and expansive. Not quite on the level of some other RPGs that come to mind from this year, but it's a great looking game. It's the full package. I mean, if you can get over the hurdle of getting used to its definitely different combat style, I think you'll really enjoy what The Last Story has to offer. And oh yeah, the game has exceptionally amazing music from Nobuo Uematsu, that is for sure. Coming in at number 7 is what I believe to be one of the undiscovered gems that more people needed to play from last year, but probably didn't, and especially if you're a fan of old school PC dungeon crawl games like Dungeon Master or Eye of the Beholder, and that is Legend of Grimrock for the PC. Now, I will completely admit, I really was never introduced to that old PC-style, first-person, puzzle-oriented dungeon crawl RPGs, such as, you know, Dungeon Master or Eye of the Beholder, or games of similar style. So this was sort of my first taste, I'd say, of that subgenre of RPG, and I was totally engrossed into the world of Legend of Grimrock. It's dark, it's gritty, it's really immersive. The game has phenomenal graphical effects to really put you in this dungeon and make you feel like you're really in this world that they created. It is simple though, it's a lot of repeating tiles and textures, so you know, they have to create an atmosphere that really keeps you engrossed from beginning to end, and Legend of Grimrock really was quite an engrossing RPG. I had a lot of fun always discovering sort of hidden items behind the wall where you have to find a little switch on the wall, and just finding that hidden loot was really, really rewarding. Some of the most memorable experience that I had last year playing a game was just solving a really complex and sort of cryptic puzzle to unveil a hidden trap wall or something that'll give me a treasure trove of new equipment for my players. It's really, really a fun game. It's not for the faint of heart though. It's pretty challenging, especially some of the puzzles, or they'll test your patience, that's for sure. I only had to look up one puzzle through my course of the game. Granted, I did not make it all the way to the end of the game because my computer did crash, unfortunately, but I did play plenty of this game. Believe me, the first few days I had this, I was playing it non-stop, and all the time I spent in this game, I just could not wait to power up my characters, get them that next best skill, or find them that next best piece of equipment. And the game has some incredible enemy designs as well. Overall, Legend of Grimrock is a game not to miss if you're a fan of RPGs and you have the capabilities of playing on the PC. Coming in at number 6 on my list is Kid Icarus Uprising for the Nintendo 3DS. Now, I have to address one thing first. Yes, the controls are very cumbersome. However, for those of you that are avoiding playing Kid Icarus Uprising because of all the bad things you've heard about the controls, let me just say one thing. I am left-handed, and I can play this game just fine using, you know, my right hand with the stylus. It doesn't really adjust well for left-handed people, but the fact that even I am able to play this game using my right hand when I'm left-handed, that says a lot, and I was able to enjoy the game fully and really get sort of immersed into this game's world. It does a phenomenal job of transitioning Kid Icarus from its NES and Game Boy roots into a new 3D title on the 3DS. First of all, the game has some of the best multiplayer modes that I've played last year, and it is without a doubt, except for Mario Kart 7, the best online experience that I've had on the 3DS. The multiplayer in this game is fast, it's frantic, it's fun as heck. I can't recommend it enough. And then the single player is also just as good. You have some really amazing flight sequences that are on rails. Think like Panzer Dragoon sort of style, where you're just moving around and aiming at the same time. It's so much fun. It's beautiful. It's got an amazing orchestral soundtrack. And the single player has some really funny writing to it, some interesting characters. It looks great. Once again, the controls are going to take you some time to get used to, it's true. What I can recommend the most is forget that stand that they give you with the game. Get out there and buy a third-party stand, one that's more comfortable than what they give you. I would recommend most, for my personal preference, the Dragon Quest Slime DS stand works amazing with that game. But besides that, guys, if you have a 3DS and you still have not played Kid Icarus Uprising, give it a chance. Get over the control hurdle, and I think you'll find a really enjoyable adventure game that's unlike anything that you can play on any other console. Coming in at number 5 on my list is one of my surprise hits of last year. This game took me by surprise, and man did I fall in love with it, and that is Sound Shapes for the PlayStation Vita. It's also available on the PlayStation 3, but for the sake of myself, I have only played it on the Vita. Sound Shapes is an incredibly simplistic platformer with influences from Little Big Planet in the sense that you can create your own levels and share them online, so it has infinite replayability, but it has a really unique concept in that it fuses the music rhythm genre with a simplistic platformer that it sort of feels similar to, say, Loco Roco on the PSP, if any of you have ever played that. It feels similar in terms of the aesthetic, the aesthetics of the visuals paired with the platforming of Loco Roco, sort of. But it really just, it captivated me. It really felt like I was playing a game like Super Mario World for the first time, or, you know, a Sonic 2 for the first time. I really got totally involved in the world of Sound Shapes, checking out user-created levels, the amazing levels that the developers made to go with the game. Just, it had the perfect pairing of every little action that you do in the game, collecting items, will further advance the music in the game world. And it has all these different graphical styles that you can play around with the user-created levels, with different music artists. It sort of has this techno-y, chiptune vibe to most of the music. But man, the sound shapes really take me by surprise, guys. If you have a Vita, definitely download this game. I don't think you'll be disappointed. Number 4 on my list is Xenoblade Chronicles. Now, I will totally admit, guys, I did not finish the story to Xenoblade Chronicles because the game is at least, it's like 100 hours long. At least minimal 80 hours long. And I will say, I did not put 100 hours into Xenoblade Chronicles. And at first, I was actually not going to put it on my list because I was like, well, I didn't finish it. Is it fair to judge it against the other games? But I have to say, before making this top 10 list, I went and I popped the game back in, and it had been many months since I had played the game. But, oh my god, when I started playing it again, I just got drawn into the world of Xenoblade again. It's so beautiful. There's no other RPG that I've played with a world like Xenoblade Chronicles. It is just unbelievable, and I was playing it again. The combat is so fast and fluid and fun. I was like, how could I not put this game on my top 10? Just thinking back to the experiences that I had playing this game when it first came out in the US, I had such a good time with this game, and there was no way I could not put it on my list. So, combat-wise, it's like an MMORPG paired with a single-player adventure. Huge, open, expansive environments that just take your breath away. Combat that is fast, fluid, it really works well. There's a lot of customization with your party members. Really interesting story, some really interesting British voice acting, but I have to say I definitely got used to it, and it really grew on me. A lot of customization in terms of the moves that you can use, tons of side quests, so much content in this game, and the graphics are just flat down gorgeous. So many memories of just walking into a new area for the first time and just gazing at the expansive, you know, worlds that you'd be able to sort of traverse throughout your adventure. And the music, oh man, the music is amazing in Xenoblade Chronicles. So it has like everything you'd ever want for an RPG, an action adventure, huge open world, well, sort of open world RPG. So definitely I had to put Xenoblade Chronicles on my list for 2012. Coming in at number 3 is one of the most tense games that I played in 2012, and that is XCOM Enemy Unknown. This is also available on the PlayStation 3 and the PC. Now, XCOM Enemy Unknown, I will say, like most people that played this new entry into the series, I never played an XCOM game before, so this was sort of new for me getting into this series, and I have to say, I absolutely loved it. I actually started the game on Iron Man difficulty, which means that you only have one save. You can't manually reload saves if you make a mistake. So my first time playing this game, I played it on Iron Man, and man, was I was on the edge of my seat, because if you lost a character, they're gone for good. You can spend 20 hours leveling this character up. They die, so long character. If you can lose your only medic. If you make a wrong decision in terms of investing your money, instead of, say, upgrading your character's equipment, you instead buy a satellite, but that ends up being the wrong decision. Too bad. Iron Man was an amazing experience with XCOM, and I can't recommend it enough. If you're going to play XCOM, Iron Man might be a bit difficult for most people, but do you ever get attached to your characters and your decisions in this game if you play it on that difficulty? But that aside, the game is absolutely phenomenal. It sort of creates, there's no story to it for the most part. Just know that aliens are invading Earth and you have to try and defend them. There's really not too much to it besides that. But the fact that XCOM has this perfect balance between, you never have enough money to do everything. So going on missions and, you know, shooting down a UFO, pillaging the crash site for materials and selling those and using them for upgrades. You're always advancing your troops and sort of your technology in the game world. But the fact that, you know, let's say you have $100 or 100 credits and you have to make a decision between building interceptors to fight off the UFOs or use that money to, say, upgrade your weapons. there's a lot of tough decisions you have to make in this game, and it really, it's so much fun to sort of build up your troops and build up your technology and advance through the game and take on harder aliens and invade alien bases. I mean, this game is phenomenal. And I will say that going back for my top 10, I went back to my Iron Man save for the first time in a while, and I played a mission and my troops got wiped out by like a single grenade. So an entire game file with hours upon hours of gameplay gone in an instant. I started another game up. This time I didn't put it on Iron Man. And I started another game and I was drawn in once again. I played for like 5 or 6 hours straight on my second game file, and oh man. XCOM, if you guys haven't played it, please check it out. It is so worth it. Okay, my number 2 game for 2012 is The Walking Dead on the Xbox 360. It's also available on the PS3, iOS, and the PC. First of all, I just want to say one thing, guys. Don't be like me. Do not buy the retail version of this game, at least not right now until it's patched, because the retail version has a lot of hitches and glitches, and oh man, it almost ruined my experience, but it says a lot that the game is so good that I can actually get over the hurdle of having my game hitch and pause. And it's because the story of The Walking Dead was just so amazing. The characters, I never felt so involved with characters in a game in recent memory. I can't even remember. Maybe Final Fantasy 13 would be the next closest thing where I got really invested in the characters in the game. But The Walking Dead, oh my god. I mean, no spoilers at all, but this game made me cry. It made me really feel for the characters. It really, because all the decisions that you make in the game, it really feels like you are making decisions that are affecting the outcome of the characters in the game, which is sort of true. There are certain outcomes that can't be avoided, but for the most part, you do change so many things in The Walking Dead with the decisions that you make. Telltale did an unbelievable job in crafting this cast of characters that you just really feel for. Now, I will say that I played episode 1 when it first came out, and then I bought the retail version and I played through episodes 2 through 5 all at once, back to back. So I was so invested. I played an episode a day. I just could not wait to see what happens next in this story. And, you know, gameplay aside, the gameplay is not the greatest. There's a lot of action sequences that just don't feel quite right. But when you're down to those pivotal moments where you have a certain amount of time to make these critical decisions, deciding between one character or the other, who do you save? You know, do you do this or do you do that? And there's extreme circumstances that, you know, go along with each decision. I mean, this game had me on, once again, just like XCOM, on the edge of my seat. I was so involved with the story of Walking Dead. I can't recommend this game enough. You don't have to be a fan of the show or the comics. You can just go right into this game, guys, and experience a story that is an experience that is unlike anything you've probably played in recent memory. An amazing adventure game that will go down in history of games, to be quite honest, for being sort of the pinnacle of adventure games in storytelling. And my number 1 game of 2012 is Journey for the PlayStation 3. Journey really hit home with me. It was an experience that really made me proud to say that I enjoy playing video games. The concept is incredibly simple. It's about an 1.5 to 2 hour game where you start from point A and you got to get to point B on the top of this mountain. You play as a nameless character with a story that's left up to your interpretation. And on your quest, you make sure you play this game online. You will get paired with random strangers, and these strangers do not have names. You can't communicate with them outside of very simple sort of chirps within the game, and you bond with these characters. You feel like that person that you're playing with is your best buddy, and, you know, if you lose them in your adventure, you really feel like you've lost a best friend, and very few games can make that sort of emotion come out of me, and this game really hit home. Now, I don't want to spoil anything, but just know, go into Journey, make sure you're playing it online, and just go into it. Don't watch, if you haven't watched any videos or much gameplay of Journey, just go into it not knowing what to expect, and I think you'll have quite an experience unlike any other. Visually, this game is just flat out beautiful. It's an amazing world that game company has created. The soundtrack, I would actually say that Journey probably has the most important soundtrack of, and this is saying a lot, I believe that Journey has possibly the most important soundtrack in any game that I've played. The soundtrack influenced my emotions and the experience of this game so much that I think if you took out the soundtrack, this game wouldn't be half as good as it is. It's quite, and the soundtrack is nominated for a Grammy. Obviously, a lot of people know that Journey has quite an amazing soundtrack, and it really lends itself well to the gameplay experience. This game is not for everybody, though. Believe me, I totally realize that it's not your traditional gameplay experience. It's got no mechanic to it besides just being able to float around and explore these worlds and solve very simple puzzles. There's, well, not really many enemies to be set in this game. Just go into it, if you've never played it before, just go into it knowing that it's more of an experience and less of a traditional video game in a sense. But I think you'll come out of it feeling, really, it'll open your eyes up to the future of games and just how many avenues of gameplay experiences, especially online gameplay experiences, have yet to be explored, and Journey is a perfect example of that. And it's reasons like that that I just think that this game is totally deserving of my favorite game of the year. Just from start to finish, Journey was just an incredible, pun intended here, quite an incredible journey that I will probably never forget. So there you go, guys. I really hope you enjoyed my top 10 games of 2012. And I really look forward to doing this again for you next year. Top 10 videos of the games for the year are always some of my favorites to put together for you guys. And I hope you really enjoyed this one. And hopefully some of the games I talked about here are some that you didn't play and you want to check out. So if any of you feel like leaving a comment below with your favorite game of last year, please feel free to do so. And thank you very much for watching.